Welcome to the Hustle or Bust podcast powered by Paver Art. Our mission is simple: to dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, small business, and all the success, struggle, and challenges that need to be confronted in the pursuit of growth. We celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit, but perhaps most important, we want you to learn at least one idea that you can put into action immediately to make your investment in time worthwhile.
Welcome to episode 18 of the Hustle or Bust podcast. Put your big boy pants on, the role of outside advisors. There are coaches or consultants that come into businesses with lengthy and often expensive engagements, but we offer an alternative approach, a rapid-fire process that looks to give you 80% of the benefit with 20% of the time. We take you through this week's half-day session at Paver Art, which was invigorating, exhausting, and eye-opening all at the same time. We hope you challenge yourself to see if this format can pay dividends for your business. Drop us a line with some feedback, and good luck.
This, I guess you can consider this part two of the previous discussion that we had. One that was related to dealing with what we perceive to be some potential potential economic downturn, hard times. You can't put our finger on it just yet, but you know when you're there. You know when you know when it's not looking too good, and a lot of it's based on the inflation situation that we have. But in this episode, one of the first things we wanted to talk about was bringing in an outside opinion, an objective opinion about how we're running our operation, the day-to-day, what we should be doing, what we're doing wrong. And we actually had somebody come in yesterday to do that. And one of the comments, and I think we both felt this way, it was a little sobering when you have someone tell you what you're doing wrong or what you should be doing, because which implies that you're not doing something, that you should be doing. And I'll tell you, it was eye-opening, and it was a little intimidating, but it was honest, and that's all you can ask for, and it was extremely informative. That's the general overview. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think getting an outside in small businesses, you're grinding away. 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, whatever you are. What's that expression? It's hard to see the forest from the trees.
Right. When
you're in the forest. When you're running a small business, any business size for that matter, and you're operating a business and you're working hard in it, you really do need to do a pulse check every now and then with somebody from the outside. Number one, that you trust, not just as a person, because these can be emotionally temporarily damaging type things, but they've got to be a skilled operator. What you don't need is a family member that's got no clue about business coming into your business giving you an opinion. Right. That really does nothing for you. You need a skilled operator. It does, by the way, and it doesn't have to be the same type of business, but a smart business person coming into your business. Have them touch and feel it, kick the tires, look at some things, ask some questions, talk to some people. Person we had to come in, we interviewed him, Angelo. He's a skilled, what I consider a very smart, skilled operator in a completely different industry. But I knew, and he had a great idea. I should go into his business, take a look. He should come into my business, and then we compare notes, right? Mm-hmm. And then how you do that, how much you have them spend in the business. Is it an hour, 2 hours? How do they kick the tires? But if you trust them, number one, and number two, they're good at what they do, and they can size things up pretty quick. It's kind of like the 80-20 rule. What you're trying to do is, can someone spend 20% of a deep dive and give you 80% of the value of what they think and have a candid conversation with you?
Exactly.
That's what we did yesterday, and it was sobering. It's, by the way, nothing's revelational in terms of, did we learn anything that we didn't know? The answer to that is probably not. We got a couple good ideas, but when you hear it from a trusted, skilled person, it is sobering, and it's somewhat exhausting, I would tell you, to hear a laundry list of things that you know you should be doing that you're either not doing or you're not prioritizing. It's very valuable for a business to do that. Now, I've got a long opinion on consultants. paid hired guns that come in, and they do the consultant dive, and they might do a week in your business, they might do 2 days, and they give you a nice fancy PowerPoint, a consultant report.
And a nice fancy invoice.
And a nice fancy invoice, right? That's, I think, of limited value. It might give you the same kind of output, but you're paying a lot for it. You can short circuit these things real quick with trusted advisors.
Sure.
Kind of that kitchen cabinet of advisors I've always talked about for small business owners to build out. Who are those people that you can call up? And they might be 2 a.m. friends when you're broken down the side of the road. Mm-hmm. If they're skilled in business and you can have them come into your business, spend a half a day with you, and they can weigh in on an opinion and kind of talk through with you what they see and why they see it, enormously beneficial. But also, you got to get your big boy pants on, because these things are hard to hear when you're grinding away and you start thinking about all the things that either you're not doing or that you're going to start reprioritizing. It's a sobering gut check on your business. Mm-hmm. I think that process.
What I found very interesting was during the analysis, and it was the 3 of us in this office, during the analysis, we found ourselves, both of us, defending our positions in response to some of the things that Angela was saying. Now, some of that is legitimate, but a big chunk of it, it's a tell. And the tell is that there's a good chance that not only what he's saying is spot on correct, but we should be doing something about it. Because the knee-jerk reaction sometimes is, well, we do it that way because, well, see, what you don't understand is when you start hearing yourself say that more than 2 or 3 times, you're digging in. You're not supposed to be digging in. You're supposed to be listening and absorbing and learning. You know what? When you look back on that, that's the tell.
Yeah.
Defending your position is the tell. Some of that is legitimate, but a big chunk of it is not. It's that chunk that you need to sit back. And by the way, I'm looking at the 5 things I took out of that meeting that were very, 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 very positive. Meaning, they're positive if you do something about them. But I also found myself defending some of what we did in these 5 points, and I sat back and said, "Wait a minute, this is not what this is supposed to be about. You're supposed to learn from this." So I started writing this stuff down. And
I'll give you an example.
I caught myself. So
it's kind of like that cartoon when you see the bubble over someone's head.
Oh yeah.
Angelo had a position. His position was long lead times hurt business. That was the general. So if your lead time is, it takes you 12 weeks to get something done, versus 2 weeks. In a fast-moving society, people want things here and now. If they're doing a project, they want it now. And if we're 12 weeks or 10 weeks, whatever it is, if you're longer than what he views as quick, you're missing a lot of business. 6 figures worth of business. $500,000 worth of business. You and I were like, nah, we're not. That was our position. We start getting into, and by the way, he's a stubborn son of a bitch like me. Right?
He dug in.
He dug in, right? This is the value of trusting someone that you also know is smart.
Exactly.
He wouldn't come off it. We weren't going to shake him, by the way. So as we're both digging in our own way, because they would tell us if they're not going to buy the order, and so he keeps probing a little bit, and he asks, all right, well, I think he got to, what's your close rate? And I'm like, it's about 25%. How do you know that? And I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. And I'm like, well, we got HubSpot, right? So we track every quote we do in HubSpot, CRM contact management. The truth is, we're guessing at 25%.
Right.
So the bubble over my head as I'm hearing myself talk, I think it's 25%, 100 quotes a month, we close 25% of it. Truth is, I didn't run the numbers, right? So it brought me back to when I was a leader of a different business. Look, if we're all going to go with opinions, we're going with my opinion. I'm the highest ranking one here, and I'm the one accountable. Otherwise, we better have some freaking data around us.
Sure.
So the bubble over my head, as I'm digging in, you and I are digging in to our close rate and the fact that the 75% that we haven't gotten, it's not because of lead time and long lead times. I'm thinking to myself, son of a bitch, I used to be in these meetings and I used to say, we're going with my opinion or someone's going to bring some data. I didn't have the data. Here he is. He thinks that we're losing relevant business because of lead time. And as I start getting into this conversation, we didn't have the freaking data. The 75% that haven't bought, we're just making an assumption price is too high or not the right time. He might be right. And I don't have the data to disprove him. And so I'm leaving this meeting, and here I am. I've built my career on being a fact-based, logical decision maker with a little bit of emotional intelligence, the ability to read people and get along with people. I didn't have the data. And he was right not to dig in and come off his position. And we couldn't. We've got experience, so we had an edge there, but we couldn't prove him wrong. We couldn't factually with data prove him wrong. And we got the data. We just haven't. I wouldn't say we haven't looked at it. It hasn't been part of the mining of our business to really understand. We sent out 100 quotes. We sold 25. The 75 that we didn't sell, 30 was because of this, 20 was because of this, and the balance was because of this. Those factors. We didn't have it. That's exhausting. It really is.
It is exhausting.
And we needed that meeting to...
And we did that for several hours.
Right. Credit to him, by the way, for not backing down on it. That's what an advisor does. Right. That comes into your business. To have the balls, the courage, and it helps when they're friends, right? You trust them. So you don't got to waste time developing a rapport and all that bullshit you got to do with human beings.
Right.
You just go right to trust. You try to get to the truth right away. He wouldn't back off, and we had no way to budge him from his position.
If the truth be known,
exhausting.
It is exhausting, but if the truth be known, it got me to thinking again, because this isn't the first time that this has come up. Okay, back in the day, we were militant about getting product out in no more than 6 weeks. But that was back when we were at half of the sales, even less than half of the sales number that we are now. And the one thing that I took from that particular portion of the discussion, yes, I sat back and tried to defend that as best as I could, but all of your defense, all the defensive posturing that you put on was just that. It was defensive. I couldn't say anything that was offensive, because we haven't done anything offensive to change that number. But somebody told us, you need to do that, okay? And you need to do that because I'm telling you, you're losing business. That's sobering. Why is it sobering? Why is it, we built this business. It's just we come in here every day, we put in 12 hours a day, and we work on the weekends, and we do all this, and we spend a lot of time, and we're busy. That's true. But at the end of the day, we're also here on the cusp of an inflationary situation that could cost us business. And every dollar that you bring in is critical. Every dollar that you bring is critical. It's critical for the employment of the people that work for you. It's critical for the reinvestment dollars that you need to put into this business. All of that's critical. So we should be doing something about that. And it just got me thinking, and after a while, it gets me aggressively pumped up. It makes me want to think more about, where are the 2 or 3 cogent areas that we can attack to improve that situation? Why can't we get that down to 10 weeks? Why can't we get it down to 8?
Well, we're having these conversations now because of that meeting, right?
Correct.
So one expression I've always used in business. Look, ideas in business are the easy part. Mm-hmm. It's the execution. So yeah, I open it up by saying, there's outside of a couple of things, there's nothing that we haven't thought about. Mm-hmm. So we don't need the ideas on how to improve. We kind of know. But when a smart person that's sitting in front of you won't budge off a topic, then we become the stubborn people if we don't start listening and saying, all right.
Well, that's his tell.
We got to call time out. Right.
That's his tell.
And he ate it up like there was blood in the water with a shark right there, right?
Yeah.
Now, I will also say, look, as a business owner or a leader in business, there's a lot of people, ideas are pretty freaking easy. They flow. Opinions come at you from left and right on every topic in the world. As it relates to opinions in your business, I get frustrated when Kim throws an idea out, or somebody does, that's maybe not working in the business with the ability to impact it. I don't freaking need ideas. I need help to get them done. Mm-hmm. That's what small businesses struggle with. They struggle with execution. So why is Angelo a little different than another idea coming in? Well, because we're taking a half a day to sit with somebody. We're investing time in it. We're just not getting an idea from the cheap seats, right?
The man's got a track. It's got a hell of a track record. He
track
knows
record,
what he's talking about.
When someone wants to get in a car for 3 hours and drive here, we're going to give them the time, and we're going to take it seriously, right? So they've got an investment in time. There's skin in the game.
Right.
on the idea. It ain't just a cheap seat idea, right? There's skin in the game and investment, mutual investment. So when you start to think, I think number one, would you agree that for small businesses, trusted panel of advisors, pick somebody to go spend a half a day when you're. Did you see value in that process?
100%.
So, and I think this is common sense. A loaded question, but it's common sense. Whoever your panel of advisors is going into this economic climate, get them in quickly to your business. Make sure you trust them. Make sure you admire their track record and whatever they've done in business. It doesn't have to be directly in your business, but if they can size up and they're smart, they can relate it to their business and they can ask you a tough question and then dig in where they got to dig in. That's who you're looking for. You're not looking for someone to stroke you. You don't need ego stroked. You need the hardcore thing, which is what we got.
He did a brilliant job, and I think
why I say you should feel exhausted after it if it had value.
I almost overslept this morning. I was really well because it gets you emotionally, but you got to downplay that. I mean,
then you put your big boy pants on.
Yeah, we get.
Now what are we gonna do?
We get emotional around here all the time. Okay, we get passionate about stuff, and it's what drives you, and it's the motivating factor that pushes stuff over the finish line. All that good stuff.
Yeah.
But what happened? What happened yesterday? I think was really critical and very important. And the you say put your big boy pants on. Whatever you do, this is going to help the business. Keep that. You got to keep that uppermost in your mind, and don't let this go to waste. And oh, by the way, this meeting I think was really positive because I think we were honest too. We have nothing back.
Right.
There was no reason to hold anything back. But if someone's doing something like this, and we highly encourage them to do it, you've got to be honest. Don't hold anything back.
Take your ego down a notch.
You got to take your ego, and that's hard.
Really
That's
hard.
Very
Look, in
hard.
our voiceover of the Hustle or Bust podcast, your voice says we want you to get one nugget that you can maybe employ in your business.
Right.
And if we do that and someone gets value out of it, we feel good that we're doing the right thing here. That's what we're trying to give back here, right?
Gotcha.
So in the first 10 minutes of this podcast, we're saying we had a trusted advisor. We admire their skill. They're willing to invest their own time. So business owners out there, start thinking, who is that group of trusted advisors that you want to have them spend from 8 to 12, a half a day with you? Dive them, let them talk to your employees, let them look at your books, let them look at your product, ask questions, figure out what their core expertise is, how can they apply it to your business, and then have them sit down with you in an hour and start challenging, fire away, and start going back and forth. They've got to have the ability not to fold like a cheap suit, right? Yeah. So part of Angelo's skill, he's the most stubborn guy.
He's
he
not
ain't
folding at all.
He could be dead wrong. He ain't folding. He's the most stubborn guy I've ever met in my life. And by the way, I rival him, and we have fun. So you got to be able to trust the person. That's key. But trusting is one thing. I trust my wife implicitly. They've got to have hardcore skill in their business that they can relate to yours too. Now they don't have to be able to execute, right? What you're looking for is a wake-up call, the cold splash of water on your face. I think we got the splash of water. Now it's incumbent on us. After we got the cold splash of water.
Well,
what's the list we're going to make?
Let's give another example. And this is on the list. He did not understand why contractors were not a bigger part of our business. These guys touch your product. They install your product. Why aren't you selling more product to them?
Great point.
Now, we did back off. We were honest and said, look, a big chunk of our business, that we didn't get away from that ostensibly. We got away from that as a result of something else that we did. We beefed up the website. We decided
we're going
to deal more. We're going to
build our own brand.
We're going to deal more with end users, homeowners.
That's more of a strategic difference, right?
But what happened was, and there's one where he again would not back off. No, listen to me. Contractors are touching your product. They're installing your product. They get to experience your product. The homeowner is just paying for it. And yes, I'm sure you guys are doing a great job, dealing with the homeowner. And he's right about that. We do. I think we do a really good job with that. But he just would not let off. But what did that lead to? It led to a breakdown of exactly how the process works with a contractor, with a paver distributor, and with the end user, the homeowner. it got him quickly informed, and man, he just took the information and ran with it. By the end of that portion of the conversation, what we decided that we were going to do is we're going to look into a referral fee situation, okay, so that you would actually get the contractor involved. And we talked about that after he left yesterday for the better part of 25 minutes. And it was that trigger that in my mind, you know what, there's something there. There's a scintilla of fact that might just work. Let's talk this out. And like we usually do, we beat the hell out of it. But that was one of the second things. Again, he would not back off. He wanted to know why we weren't doing more business with contractors.
Well, I think and I've rationalized this too, that of the 100 calls, 5 will come in from the contractors,
Right.
and 2 of them, or 3 of those 5, the homeowner put them up to calling, so they didn't really generate anything. So therefore, I put them in a box that they're not proactive, they don't want to sell, they want to install. I give 35 rationalizations on why we're not getting inbound inquiries from contractors, right? And I think I'm right on most of them, but what if I'm not right? What if they realize that I've gone direct to the end user and I've built my own brand, and not that we need the contractors, but I got to create demand by the end user, so that might be throwing off a vibe. I don't know.
Why would they give us a second look?
Right.
You know? But
the point is, we're having a different look at age-old topics: lead time, contractor, referral type, the importance of contractors as a result of somebody coming in, a disruption in your day and your routine. You got to be willing to do that as a small business owner too, right? Exactly. When you have somebody in, and you're working a 12-hour day, to throw 5 hours in to do this type of thing, that's disruptive. So you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? I'm telling you, it's worth it. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out when to do it. You got to do it at the right time. They got to have the skill. You got to have the trust, and then you got to be able to execute. Otherwise, all you did is waste everyone's time. So the fact that we're doing a podcast and we're holding ourselves accountable by being public with the idea, some of the things that we learned from it, and we're going to deliver on it and keep him involved in it. And I'll go to his business, and we'll do the same thing.
Sure.
And give him the enduring pain that I got yesterday from this. Look at it. I got pretty thick skin, and I wouldn't say I lost sleep over it. I sleep like a baby, but those are hard sessions.
Yeah.
Because you're getting a mirror thrown in your face of 10 things that, what is the potential of your business? Let's just say it's 100 and you're at 50 right now. Mm-hmm. And you know these things. Well, what's stopping you from getting there? Well, there's only so many hours in the day. You start rationalizing it. You start giving 10 reasons why you're not getting there. It's hard.
That's the term, the oft-used term, rationalizing, which as soon as you start doing that, again, I think that's a tell. That should be telling you, telling myself, that as I'm sitting here rationalizing why, well, we do it because blah, blah, because of this, and this. We try to build, if a customer places an order for a 4-foot diameter compass rose and it's a design that we know will sell, we try to build 2 of those, one for the client and one for stock. Okay, well, why aren't you building 20? Why are you building 1? 5? Why are you building 6? Why aren't you dedicating 1 day a week to building stock items like that? Because that will automatically decrease the lead time for those customers that want something now. And you're going to lose that business if they want something now and they're not willing to wait 12 weeks. Well, you've got something that you can sell them. And he landed on that too. It's pretty amazing for somebody that doesn't know.
Well, it's 80-20, right? He spends, a normal consultant might need to spend a week or 2 weeks to try and absorb and learn the business a little bit to come
2
up.
hours.
Yeah, look. So tell me, by the way, a consultant that charges $300 an hour, and they're going to string you out for 2 weeks or whatever, and then give you a report. That is just frustrating. I mean, small businesses got to get better than that. You got to have a trusted cabinet of advisors that can cut through the bullshit quicker, like he did yesterday. It's an enormously beneficial. Look, when you're running a business and you got a staff of employees, however many, 1 employee or 50, number doesn't matter. A lot of them tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. So you've got the outside voice, that trusted cabinet of advisors, the Angelos of the world that will come in, spend the time because they care about you, right? And they're good, and they got nothing to lose by telling you what you need to hear.
You're going to find out. I took 3 things away from that I thought were very, very important, and they're important for this reason. We just got finished talking for an hour and 16 minutes about what we want to do in regards to the upcoming whatever it's economically, whatever that's going to be from a negative standpoint, whatever it's going to be in the next 6 months to a year. We just talked about that and how we want to, we want to shore up our defenses, and then we also want to get offensive. But I took three things from our discussion with Angelo yesterday that will help buoy us against that lack of business or downturn in business, potential downturn in business. And there's no reason why we shouldn't continue to proactively look at those three items and do something about it.
How does this model of what Angelo did yesterday, this trusted advisor, outside people coming into a business, whatever that business is,
right?
How applicable is that? Do you when you think about small business owners, even big business for that matter?
I think it's extremely important because
what we're talking about is not the Boston Consulting Group or McKinsey coming in. What we're talking about is a closer circle, non-paid, trusted advisors, people that you know are good.
We don't have a big board of people here, okay? There's no massive meeting room where 10 guys are going to get together and say, well, Mike, have you ever considered the possibility of putting 2 more people in this department, taking one out of here, closing this section? No, we don't have that capability here. We're that small. And your expertise and my expertise, although in many cases broad-based, there are pockets where we're weak. And having somebody come in and point out those weaknesses is pretty damn important for a small business. I think a small business...
How many small businesses have a session like yesterday once a year, do you think?
You always ask me these questions, and it's
impossible to know.
It's impossible to know, but if I were to guess...
More than 50, right? Don't have them.
I would say it's less than people would normally think. Most of them are probably not doing that.
Right.
Okay? And...
Am I out of the annoyance that I have with ideas? They can't help me execute it. Mm-hmm. Angelo can't help us. By the way, he can't help us execute any of these, and I'm not annoyed at all.
Right. Exactly.
I get annoyed at the opinions or the ideas when there's no ability to impact the score. Right. Mm-hmm. And I say annoyed. That's the wrong word. In the advice business, what we're talking about, there's a lot of businesses you go to for coaching. We interviewed one Dean. I think Dean would be a fantastic coach, right? I think people get a feel for that. And by the way, I played the role of consultant, but I can't stand the consultant world. I really can't. I played the role, in my mind, consultant matters when they've got skin in the game, either investment dollars or they're going to actually operate for a short term and get in the trenches, get their hands dirty in the business. I did it for 6 months in a snack food business and had great results. I can make an argument that if I wasn't going in, the business might not have survived, right? Done that a number of times. But what I don't like doing is going in, doing a deep dive, giving recommendations, and leaving, right? I'd rather do what Angelo did. Go in for a half a day, give some and by the way, not make money out of it, although there's a paid opportunity if you want to. But the world of advice, you can pay for this all day long with coaches, with consultants. I think small businesses are generally, their financial resources, I would do it this way first. And see if you're humble enough, because if you're not willing to be coachable, then why are you even doing that? You're just wasting your time. You got to see if you're coachable first.
Your inner circle, yeah. Well, that's
which is a problem for a lot of people. They're not coachable.
Well, we dipped our toe in that yesterday, but I think every small business out there, the person who started the business, the person that owns the business, the entrepreneur that decided, you know what, I can do this and I can do it better than, the person I'm working for right now, decided I'm going to leave, I'm going to start this business. After a few years, it's amazing when you look at your, and by the way, it's usually a small circle of friends because you don't have time to develop those friendships. You're busy running the damn business. But you'll find that a lot of the people that are, that you're surrounded by are also business owners, that they started their own businesses. It's amazing. I'm sure you could probably come up with 5 right off the top of your head, if not more, Angelo being one of them. I can come up with 5 right now. 3 of them live in my cul-de-sac, okay? And they're They're good people. They're smart people. And all these businesses have been successful. They're still up and running. They got past that 5-year testing period, and they're still running strong. Every small business should have somebody like that can come in and say, okay, yeah, I'm happy to take a look at your business and give you some opinions. By the way, I'd like you to do the same thing for me. That's, I don't know what percentage of the market that represents. It might be 20-25%, something like that, where you've got a nice circle of people that you can call on. Let's say the other 75% you got to hire or you have to bring in. Is it still important to do that? I would say yes. And the reason for it is, even if you just get one or two things out of that, that paid project or paid for project, it gives you an opportunity. They'll open your eyes to things that you probably didn't see, because you're in the mix, you're in the fight all day long. You got to get aware of what you're actually doing. A self-analysis is good, but if you're going to rationalize your response to somebody like Angelo, the initial response, you're rationalizing, well, we do it this way because blah, blah, blah. I see what you're saying, but we can't really do that because blah, blah, blah. Imagine what you're doing to yourself if you're trying to self-analyze. You're doing exactly the same thing. Well, I can't really do much about this particular problem because I have these 3 things that are keeping me from doing that. Okay. Well, you better find a way, or else you're going to get eaten up in the next 6 months to a year. Well,
one thing we've learned, or that I've learned at interviewing some people, learned it with Dean, a little bit with Jeff and Alice Fisher. Does Jeff recover from a stroke without Alice by his side? I think that's pretty safe to say. Alice is an enormous partner with Jeff.
It would have been tremendously difficult.
Dean was very disclosed on mental health challenges. Braden, at talking about the loneliness and feeling alone as a CEO of a business, a small business owner.
By the way, as people will know him on TikTok as the crying CEO.
The crying CEO, which, right. Not a great moniker,
no,
but that's what got him viral, that opportunity.
So anybody listening will understand who we're talking about.
Braden Wallace, yeah, which is episode 12, 13-ish. You can look that episode up. But right. Mental health is a big deal when you're owning a small business, or mental health challenges, loneliness. You're in it alone. You got to make payroll. You got the pressures of it. By the way, no one's going to feel sorry for a small business owner, but right. It is a reality. Who is your network of advisors? And then how are you going to lean on them, not just for the emotional support, but hardcore, how do you get the business to the next level? Mm-hmm. We've said it a million times on a Hustle or Bust podcast. The bell curve, if it was easy to be in that far right-hand corner of the bell curve, the 15 to 20% of businesses that dynamically grow, become stronger, reinvest in their people,
right.
Reinvest in their operation, become stronger. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not easy. It is difficult. It requires skill. It requires blood, sweat, and tears. It requires money and all of that. And that's why it's the exception, not the norm. So I think when I asked the question about, what do you think what do you think the process that we did yesterday, is that normal, less than normal? Generally, I think it's less than 50%, right?
It's less than normal for sure.
And again, that wasn't easy. It's a disruption in time, but it's the mirror that's going to get shine, in your face of, all right, and you trust the person, so you're going to value what they say. So you're not just going to shake it off your shoulder. It's a hard thing, but you got to do it.
How many businesses that are on the brink of not being able to meet payroll or not being able to successfully and within a reasonable period of time pay creditors could do with some of that advice, some of that information? We don't have that issue here. We don't have those negative issues here. Our issues are, getting ready for what's coming up and continuing to grow this business.
Here's why I know it's the minority. I'll tell you why. On LinkedIn makes it very easy and a little bit of a spam cesspool. People friending each other or connecting with it and then selling them next thing you know. Totally not what the deal is. But I try and and Dean put a masterclass in. He has coffee multiple times a week. Dean Zarilla. He's coming up on a podcast that'll be published, I guess, in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. He's coming up. The guy has coffee with people that he doesn't know. He builds out his network, and then he's posting on Instagram. I had coffee with Jim Bob, and here's what we talked about. And he's developing a network. He's proactively spending his own time and money to go out and build a network.
What was his goal? One a day?
One a day for 52 connections.
Gotcha.
52 new people.
Or one a week.
Great goal, or one a week, right? I've done the same thing more electronically on LinkedIn, and I want to know all the New Jersey business owners that are kind of in the manufacturing trades space, and I reach out to them. My response rate is dismally low. So let's just say I've reached out to, over the past 5 years, 100 people. 5 of them positively respond. Now, does that mean they don't need coaching? They don't need to have more friends, more business owners? Or look, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just think it makes sense for New Jersey business owners to know each other.
Sure.
And my response rate being 5%, and maybe I'm shitty at communicating the reason why I'm reaching out. I don't know. But a pretty dismal. Now, maybe they're all mentally, their mental health is a 10 out of 10. Maybe their business is growing 30% a year. Maybe they got all the advisors, they got a board of directors, but I doubt it, right? Generally, it's a very small percentage of people that build out their networks of support to get into this. And I think that's a missed opportunity for not a lot of cost.
It might not be because of the reasons you gave. It might be because the instances of that occurring where somebody actually reaches out to another business owner within the same state, they're very, very small. Who is this Olivito guy?
And there's a skepticism.
Yeah, exactly. Who is this Olivito guy? That just happens so rarely that people's response is, oh, he's just trying to sell me something. That could be why you're not getting much of a response.
People are defensive.
People were a little bit more proactive in accepting those sorts of things. Oh, that's Mark Olivito. Well, let's check out this business's website. Wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah, I'll give this guy a call.
And look, let's say it's a airline business or something completely unrelated to pay for it. Why in the world? Maybe the positive intent that people should assume. You look at the person's website, and you're in a what's a hospital services business, and this dude from this thing called Hustle or Bust Enterprises Pay for Art reaches out to you. It's nothing related to my business, but he's saying he's a New Jersey business owner and you're a New Jersey business owner. Maybe assume positive intent. That if he's saying all business owners in a given geography should know each other, just take it at face value. And then ask yourself, is that of value to you? If it is, accept it and start a dialogue. What do you got to lose? A 15-minute phone call conversation? It's amazing to me how skeptical the world is now because everyone's getting bombarded and sold, and no one wants to be sold to. I get that. And LinkedIn is I get probably 30 friend requests a week.
Right.
And half of them seem to be from people overseas trying to sell us something, right? So I get the filter of, look, I don't need to be spammed and being sold healthcare services or benefits or whatever it is. And CPAs are now all over LinkedIn trying to get in and sell you their CPA services. So anyway, there's a healthy degree of skepticism out there for the LinkedIn approach. So maybe you got to try different approaches. Who knows?
Well, to me, education, growing your education base, your knowledge base of whatever it is that you wanted to talk about, running a business, owning a business, the product line that you're selling, expanding your educational base, your knowledge base of all these different areas is critical if you're going to grow your business. It's even more critical if you want to keep your business in business during dismal economic times. And I'm telling you right now, the amount, okay, yeah, I'm up there. I'm technically a senior. I'm not a junior anymore. I'm a senior. I'm 69 years old. I'm jazzed every day by the amount of information that I learn from all the different people around me. And I try to expand that as best I can. And the people that I learn from are people that are really, really good at what they do. And I can't stress enough that if you're a business owner and you're running your show by yourself, you've got to keep learning. You've got to keep educating yourself. You've got to keep reaching out. Why someone wouldn't respond to you on LinkedIn with the possibility that, you know what? This guy's got, look at this company is here. There's something there. I might be able to gather something from that. But that education, that expansion of your education base at whatever age you are, is critical. If you're going to
Look,
keep
I'll give you an example of learning, and Dominic published Sunday night our last episode. It's called Getting Out of Your Comfort Zone.
Mm-hmm.
It was an hour and 20 minutes, like most of these podcasts are, and nowhere in that podcast of Getting Out of Your Comfort Zone was what we just talked about Angelo coming in, a trusted advisor, spending a half a day with you, which was highly uncomfortable for us.
Most of that was self-analysis as opposed to,
That didn't even come up on Getting Out of Your... And that was the most uncomfortable thing we had in the last year and a half, I would say.
And it should have been on that podcast.
Right? So only within 48 hours, that's how quick information... If you're trying to grow, you publish a podcast on Sunday, by Wednesday you should have a completely different point of view. If you're doing the things you got to do to grow. Angelo comes in yesterday on a Monday. We published Sunday night. He comes in a Monday, and we're like blown away in terms of, oh, shit. Right? Talk about uncomfortable. We didn't even make the podcast. It wasn't on our consciousness.
Things we read. You sent me a text on Sunday about pizza. Remember that?
Great series.
And what was the purpose? Now, I know what the purpose was. I knew what the purpose was when you sent it to me, but I called and asked you anyway because I know you there's layers to you. There's the obvious layer, but then there's stuff underneath of that. Why did you send me that text?
There's another nugget of information more on the entertainment side. Netflix has a special, I think it's called Chef's Table, and they do, I think it's 6 episodes on pizza, the world's most popular food. Fascinating, and I love food, right? So the first episode is a guy that was born in the Bronx, has asthma, and didn't go to college. I think he dropped out of high school junior year. Long story short, moves to Arizona and creates one of the most successful pizza restaurants in the country, right? And then they talk about a Korean American that recreates pizza with kimchi on it. And what is it like to be a Korean American? Parents, immigrants come into the country to give their kids the American story, right?
Sure.
Immigrants come in here for a better life, to educate their kids, to give the kids a better life. And she creates a pizza restaurant after failing in drama. She wanted to be a drama. She was a drama major. And anyway, there's 6 stories of different pizza entrepreneurs, how they look at the craft of either trying to reinvent pizza, become successful through the art of pizza making. I found it amazingly refreshing and enthralling how they're all taught different slant on something like pizza, the struggles that they're going through, how they're trying to build a brand, how they're trying to reinvent it. Fascinating and highly entertaining.
Well, there's a situation where when I checked this out, the wheels start to turn, and it's on a Sunday when I'm usually kicking back and just trying to relax for an hour or so, and get some things done around the house. This is kicking through my brain. Pizza. Everybody knows about pizza. This is New Jersey. There's a pizza you can't throw a stone and not hit a pizza place, or 5 of them, within your throwing distance of that stone. It makes you start thinking.
We got a unique product. There's no doubt.
We have a unique product, but it makes you start thinking about other ways that you can expand and improve on that. Now, we've been doing and making the same thing for 20 years. Now we've branched out, but it reinvigorates the inventive part of your brain. It makes you think more and harder and longer about, what? Why don't we take a look at this? Let's go down this. But it came from that text that you sent me. All those things inject more information into your, and you got to keep doing that until you're 6 feet under. You just have to keep doing that. And yes, Angelo came in, did his thing with us yesterday. That's important. Self-analysis is important. Being honestly self-analytical is extremely, extremely important. I don't care if you own your own business or if you're, working in a cubicle and, at GM. It doesn't matter.
You had a thought on fear on our last episode or last taping. What were you talking about as it relates to fear, as the times that we're heading into, or?
This is another one of our smooth segues.
Right.
It's completely.
I just injected it. Yeah. After pizza, we go to fear. So the world's most popular food, pizza, and then let's do fear. What fearful pizza?
Well,
what were you thinking of?
There's fear and how your business is affected by that. Okay. There's employee fear. I don't want to lose my job. Okay, that's fear is a tremendous motivational,
True.
tactic. Okay, but we don't play that game here. We want to see people positively grow. We want to see them, come to their own self-realizations if that's possible. But not everybody does that. That's not, everybody's different. Not everybody wants to do that. Some guys do that, some guys don't. Some gals do that, some gals don't. But fear in regards to the future, okay, and your concerns about, oh God, what's going to happen, Q1 of 2023, Q2 of 2023. We're on a roll here. I don't want that to stop. I'm afraid it's going. You got to get past that. You don't. We talked about this on one of our podcasts before. You can get defensive, but there's defensiveness that you can get into that's realistic. You have to do that. For instance, a defensive posture is we're gonna ramp up our inventory situation to the point where we're going to be very careful how much we order and when we order it. We're going to monitor our orders more closely to make sure that what we're ordering is just what we need. That's defensive. Okay, that comes from fear. All right, but you got to get over. You got to get over this concern. Some people, if you're a business owner, all of a sudden you lose a $25,000 order. Oh, okay. Well, I told you in a previous podcast, the wins last about 24 hours. The defeats last for 24 days. They just do. They don't go away. They don't go away that easily or quickly. But that comes from fear. That's the basic intention of fear is to put you into an agonizing non-movement state. And you can't be that way. You just cannot be that way. And you can't, fear will also make you not look honestly at a situation that's causing your business to go out of business. You can't let fear overcome you like that.
Yeah.
You have to be, if you got to go see a shrink, go see a shrink, but you can't let that happen. But it does happen, and it happens all the time, and you've got to be very careful with that.
As you're talking about fear, I think about the 92% of the world that's not a business owner. Right. So we know unemployment is going to go north at some point. Can't predict when and how much, but there could be millions of people that lose their job. Right. Can you think of anything more stress-inducing or anxiety-driven than the thought of losing your income because you lost your job?
And you've got a family.
And you got a family, and you got a mortgage, and you got kids going to school, and you got whatever. Everyone's got different obligations, but they're obligations. Everyone needs their income source.
Correct.
That doesn't mean you can't replace the income source. But here's what I find distasteful in our system is when companies raise a ton of money and then they do layoffs, right? If it's a reality that unemployment's going up and millions of people are going to lose their job, have a disruption in their income, which is a real disruption in your life. How do they deal with fear? As you were talking about all these anxieties and fears, how is the company doing? Every employee in America, whether you're working at a greeting card store, Google, Facebook, PaperArt, every employee that's getting a paycheck has to know how the company is doing. Are they doing well? Terrible? How risky are they? And then they should be taking that information. How do you know how you're doing as a company? Well, you can start by asking your manager. Well, your manager might not have a clue. What you got to be thinking of is financial health. Does this business that you're working on, that you're getting that paycheck every 2 weeks, do they have 1 week of cash in the bank? Or do they have a year of cash in the bank? Or do they have 5 years? Or do they not even have, we don't know how we're making payroll next week. Do you as an employee have a clue about what that is? I would venture to say a shocking percentage don't know that answer.
I think you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
So to me, how you deal with fear and anxiety is know more. Know what position you're in now. Is your foundation strong that you're sitting on right now or not? Or is it weak? So how you get through times like this when anxiety is starting to ramp up and millions of people are going to be potentially out of work? Know a little bit more about your own. There is no job security in life if the business is not healthy.
Right.
Healthy is in the eyes of the beholder. But you got to have a clue about how your business is doing. How do you do that? let's see how disclosed is the owner with working with their team in terms of the health of the financial business, right? And then what should they be communicating? How often are they communicating? How well is the team working together to make next week a little bit stronger than this week in terms of results? It all comes down to business results. That's the ultimate anxiety-reducing thing, is a strong business that's producing and running a profitable business. But your financial health is definitely a key thing that I'd want to know if I'm getting a paycheck.
Sure.
Am I dealing with a company that can't even meet next week's payroll, or am I dealing with somebody that's investing in their business and trying to grow? Two completely different businesses, by the way.
There's no fear there. You're being proactive. Yeah, I'm not talking about proactive. Just that you're coming up with busy work. No, you're coming up with you're trying to come up with ways to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Trying to gain some control over their situation.
You want to be pragmatic, you want to be realistic, and most importantly, you want to be honest with employees. But you would be surprised, I think, and I'm speaking to the business owner, you'd be surprised how many people would honestly, not everybody, but how many people would honestly give you some input as to the actual running of your own business. And
look, we got to do this too. As you're talking, we got to get everybody around the table and say, all right, you've all heard the news, inflation, unemployment,
right.
The stormy weather coming. Here's how we should be looking at it. Let me tell you what my point of view is on where we stand going into this thing, right? And just be honest. And now, what is everyone's role around the table to make sure that we're the last man standing if it's an apocalypse, right?
Sure.
And then just, at COVID, we did a pretty good job. I remember the saying was, we're not dead yet.
Yeah.
Phones are still ringing. Let's keep working it, right? Mm-hmm. And every week, in a economic calamity that's coming, you want to shorten the window of what success looks like. You don't want to be thinking 5 years out. You want to be thinking getting through next week and then the week after, and then getting metrics around you that kind of reset what success looks like going through a tough time.
Mm-hmm.
So, point. But communication is a key. If anxiety is going sky high, don't have that within your team, or try and manage it within your team. Communication and transparency is definitely one of the ways you do that.
How much do you think, what percentage of the business that you've quoted, it's another one of our really smooth segues. In the radio business, we're definitely not in.
Yeah. We're not professional podcasters. So, all right, let's come up with a contest. Who has the shittier transition from topic to topic? I think I'm going to win that one. I'm competitive. I can do a shittier transition better than anybody.
I'm competitive too. I'm coming up from behind.
Mr. Producer, we're going to have shitty transitions. Make a clip of shitty transitions. We'll have a highlight reel.
How much of the business that we've quoted goes by the wayside because we don't follow up with that quote in a reasonable period of time? What percentage do you think? Now, the argument can be made any percentage, 2%, 5%, 8%, 20%. 20% is probably too high, but any percentage would justify, get to it, start following up. But what could be coming up here in the next 6 to 12 months makes that even more important. I think the term could be used critically more important. Okay. What percentage do you think? You think it's
of businesses that we did not capture because of a great follow-up?
We quoted.
Yep.
We quoted, but we have not followed up with that yet. And by the way, our contact management software is pretty good at reminding you and pinging you when you're supposed to be following up, because they make you put in there what your follow-up date's going to be. If you don't get to it, again, it's one of those situations where you're rationalizing, I had this to do today, that to do today.
So what have we lost because we don't follow up?
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I knew that answer.
Yeah.
I wish we had a quantified number. I think our product is a luxury product. It's not a necessity. You're still going to have running water whether you install PaperArt or not. You're going to do a project, and generally our value proposition, I think, we've proven it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. For the cost of redoing your backyard with a fire pit and a retaining wall and a patio, the incremental benefit of putting PaperArt in relative to that project cost it's a fantastic value proposition.
That's what we like to call that a tip-in. It's a tip-in.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's generally, and it makes you unique. All the things of personalization, we play to that very well. But now you go into your question, which is, if we don't follow up on that quote for that compass rose or whatever design, did we lose the sale, and what percentage of them? Because it's luxury and not necessity, I tend to think it's an impactful number. It wouldn't shock me if it's 20%. Because I could just do the patio project. Yeah, I forgot about that paver art thing, and then you follow up. So, we'll forget that. Maybe down the road, and it might be as high as 20%.
If they've got the money, okay, and for whatever reason something else came up that's as equally attractive or more or less attractive,
something else slid in.
Something else.
Somebody else was more responsive.
And that's where their dollars
Maybe
went.
they put it into an outdoor kitchen instead of the compass rose, or they reallocated money, and if they weren't following up or not in that thought process,
had we followed up,
it could be as high as 20%. It wouldn't shock me, which is a big number on millions of dollars of quotes.
And I'm, how does that translate into a contractor's business? The contractor's out there, and he might be quoting 4 or 5 jobs a week in good times, but he only gets 1 out of every 10.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it's in a very highly competitive area like here in New Jersey. They get 1 out of 10. What do they got to do to get to 2 out of 10? Well, you go back.
They got to do the same thing.
Why wouldn't you talk to that client that it's Mrs. Smith. This is Mike Bull from ABC Contracting. I'm checking on that quote that we sent out to you after I came to your property, checked out everything, sat down with you and your husband. And was there an issue or a problem? I haven't heard from you. You might find out, we're looking at somebody else because they're going to do, I didn't realize that was something that you wanted to get involved with. Would you be interested in having me talk to you about that also?
Doesn't this go back to Angelo's pushing on us? That he thinks our lead time is losing business?
Yeah.
If our follow-up rate is low, we can't dispute that.
That's hard to dispute.
It comes down to, he might be right, he might be wrong. We don't know, and we can't disprove him. In the absence of data, we're going to go with the owner's opinion, because that's the only one that matters.
Yeah, that's a great
right?
point. That's
so
a great point.
If you don't follow up, you don't know your price was too high, or you're too late, or they had a better portfolio and I was a little bit more comfortable, and they gave me a visual. It could be 30 reasons. Until you follow up, you're not going to know what those reasons are.
Well, I'm going to take you right back to fear. Now, you and I don't have any fear with this. I mean, I talk to people on the street. I was talking to my cousin last night, and we were talking about outgoing people, because he saw the latest podcast that was out there, and he commented about your honesty, okay? And you made a comment about me, and I have no problem going up to people and introducing myself, all that kind of stuff.
Which I admire.
Well, well, thank you, but at the same time, it's, there's, I wasn't like that when I was 12 years old. I wasn't like that when I was 18 years old. I wasn't like that when I was 22 years old. But you're not getting into sales unless you learn how to talk to people, okay, and get over that, that fear of failure, that fear of, saying something stupid. Well, I say something stupid 3 times a day minimum. Okay, it just stops bothering you after a while. You know what I mean? But you've already dealt with the client when they've called you. That's the easy part of the sale, because they're a captive audience. They've come to you.
They're coming to us, right?
Okay, and you're already that already fluffs your feathers up, because you got a great product and you can talk about it for hours on the phone, and you've got a captive audience. They want to hear what you have to say, and they're going to have questions. But the follow-up means you've got to talk to somebody that may be embarrassed by the fact that they don't want to buy your product. They went with something else,
right?
Okay, and you're putting them in an uncomfortable position. You have to deal with that. You have to be able to deal with that. That's not the reason why you and I may not be doing more of this, and why we intend to, and we will do more of it. But that might be why other people are not interested in getting involved with that, because there's that little fear factor.
Well, no one wants to deliver bad news.
They don't want you to think. They don't want you to think that them delivering bad news to you might hurt your feelings. That's why they didn't call you back. Nobody's going to call you back to say, you know what?
Proactively.
We made another decision. We decided to go in another. Oh, if somebody called me today and said, Mike, thank you for all the time that you gave me 2 weeks ago, but we've decided to go in another direction, I'd fall off my chair.
That's right.
That's
not normal course of it's up to us to get the info.
It's great feedback because the next question is going to be, oh, geez, can you talk to me a bit about that? Was it the money? Was it the availability? Was it the colors? What was it? Can you because that's great information for us to have, and we can do something with that. But we don't get that.
Right. They're not going to proactively call us.
You're only going to get it
if we solicit it.
If we solicit it. So there, just by itself, is probably the singular reason why you should do it. The next reason why you should do it is because you may jog somebody out of there. Oh, you know what? You're right. I should have. I was going to call you, but I completely forgot. I got tied up. Oh, that's no problem. You know what? Let's do something with this right now. No, that's happened.
Right.
That's happened a couple of times. So, well, more than a couple of times. But that's something. That's something that is, I think, very, very important. Again, when you want to go on the offensive, we need to gird that up. We need to do more of that, and that's the reason why I brought it up.
Yeah, I think you got to hang on for dear life in terms of if you're going to quote somebody, a prospective customer,
right?
You owe it to yourself. You spend a lot of money bringing the customer in for it to become a prospect.
Yeah.
Now you gotta see it through. And you got to get to the no as quick as possible,
you're
and then get to why.
You're 90% there.
Right. Now, what
you
stinks
got to take
is
the other 10%. Why would you stop on the 5-yard line and just look around and wait for somebody to tackle you?
If you're a contractor that went out in March and you're in New Jersey and you quoted 5 patios and and obviously the 4, you got one of them, and the 4 other ones said no. But if you don't know if they really said no,
right,
and they just haven't called you, go knock on their door and figure out, did they do a patio? Did they use your competitor? Did they just push it off? Figure out, because that could become next year's project.
Exactly.
Or for us, it could be. But the worst part is to have the fuse go for. We've got quotes from January that we haven't followed up on.
Right.
So at some point, you got to kind of draw a line in the sand and say, here's the standard process. We quote, within 5 days we follow up, or whatever it is. 2 weeks we follow up. Every business is different. But you've got to, we talked about this with Angela.
Carve out the time.
You've got to close out a quote. And the closeout could be no. And here's why it's no. But you got to close it out. You can't have a laundry list of quotes ad infinitum that you've never closed out. All you got there is data, and you worked a lot getting the quotes out, and you got no way to know your close rate or why you're not converting.
I can rationalize
20 years, and we still have that issue.
I can give you 3 reasons right now.
Phones are ringing.
Why?
Machines are breaking down. There's a million good reasons.
However, when the slope's up, the sales slope is up, and it's steep, and it's been steep for us for the last year and a half to almost 2 years.
Right.
It's it's high. So my dad used to say, high tide covers a lot of stumps. Okay, when the tide goes down, all those stumps come up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when you're waiting for the tide to come back in again, it can be just an excruciating period. It just feels like it's 5 times longer than it ever has been. But the idea here is that it's now more important than ever to do those follow-ups.
Right.
You can come up with those same rationalizations. Those rationalizations have to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There are ways to make this work. Even if you just tell yourself 1 hour every day. 1 hour. That's it. If you're working 12...
That's the behavior change.
That's 1 out of 12 hours. 1 hour every day. Bar none, I'm doing this. You know how many phone calls I can make in an hour? You know how many phone calls you can make in an hour?
Right.
Minimum 6.
Right.
Okay? 1 every 10 minutes. Because assuming that a certain number of those calls, they're going to engage you.
Right.
Some of the calls are going to be, we decided to go another route. Okay, well, thank you very much. Can you tell me why?
So let's bring this full circle then. So we had the trusted advisor come in. Mm-hmm. We got the sobering, uncomfortable conversation.
Right.
If we don't put that 1 hour in, can we ever toe up on the topic of the residential market and lead time? If we don't do that behavior change, are we ever going to have a fact-based conversation on that topic? I don't think we will. We weren't able to use data to say, let me tell you why the lead time is not costing us business. Because we've had these 1,000 quotes. Here's the 30 that said no because of this, the 30 because... If we don't do that follow-up and close out these quotes, we're never going to have an intelligent. He's going to dig into his position. We're going to rationalize on ours. and we never meet with facts.
And your
I don't think we
facts,
get there.
Look, the facts are important. There's no question about that. I'll take a slightly different tack. I've been doing this business for 20 years. A lot of my decisions are based on feel. I don't have facts all the time because to generate facts, you need more time to generate the facts. When you came in, all of a sudden, the number of it was like a snowball effect. You know, the snowball going downhill. It just every year more data. Here's one where we need more data. Okay, but I can tell you this right now. I know we're not making enough calls. I don't need data to tell me that. The data basically secures that position, and it might tell us where those calls we want those calls to go. Are they contractors? Are they homeowners? Are they landscape architects? Are they general contractors? Are they whatever, it may tell us where to go in that, but I know for a fact we need to be more proactive in that regard.
So without the 1 hour behavior change, if 1 hour is good enough for you and I, we don't get to a fact-based conversation. That's indisputable, that piece right there.
No question.
And then once we get the data from closing out the quotes, if he's right, and if you can cut your lead time in half, that could generate growth, or you can put a number on that. Then you can figure out the investment for it. Then all of a sudden you start figuring out you can go from X to Y.
You start to expand.
Now all of a sudden you're proactive, and now you're getting off your heels and on your toes. But it does require the behavior change. So let's go back to the beginning. We said, who's your trusted advisors? Who's got skill? Who do you trust? But you also got to don't do it if you're not willing to put the behavior change in, the investment in time to change your own behavior to get after some of this. Otherwise, don't do it. You just had an uncomfortable meeting. That's all you had.
Yeah.
So if you just hit the nail on the head, if it requires 1 hour a day, if you're not willing to do that, don't put yourself through the anxiety of having that type of discussion. You got to be willing to do both, or you just wasted your time.
You know, we're not sitting around looking at Facebook. We're not doing, we're not spending copious amounts of time on Instagram and sending text messages to our wives, and our children. That doesn't happen here. When we're here, we're working.
Right. But 12 hours is a lot of
the shift.
It's a lot of time to allocate to different activity. If we determine that to have that conversation, we need a behavior change in 1 hour a day. So the business owner's got to say, all right, if you believe that the one nugget of who's your trusted cabinet advisors, take that another step. Whatever behavior change is required to take advantage of that discussion, you got to be willing to do that too.
Exactly.
So that's the check and balance. If you can't envision how you would rearrange your day, or that you even have to do that, don't even go down that road. Be part of that middle part of the bell curve.
Yeah.
Save yourself the anxiety.
Yeah, save yourself the anxiety, but expect what the results are going to be.
That's right.
You got to know the
growth is fucking hard.
It's probably not going to be good.
All this is hard.
It's not going to be good.
It is hard. I mean, and it's so. Can you imagine? So, all right, if you hit the nail on the head with the 1 hour change a day, you got to figure where's the hour going to come from? What are we going to do? Are we going to close that out? They don't want to tell you bad news. 75 things of the reason why you wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
So it's hard. That's why people don't do it.
No.
So, I think that's the nugget. The advisors plus combined with the behavior change, and then what is that? Model it out, and then hold yourself accountable to it.
No. You could always have somebody do it for you.
You can outsource some of it.
You can outsource that.
You can have that debate, sure.
But that's, again, it's important enough that I don't know that we'd ever consider that, but I'm sure we wouldn't.
Well, it depends on how important the goal is.
The best follow-up would be from you and I or Brian or anybody else here that knows the product like we know it. But anyway, that's
pretty good topic.
Yeah, I would say so. And
we'll call this Part B to the one we just did.
Part B, and I think we beat it up pretty good. We would encourage anybody that gets an opportunity to watch or listen to this podcast to respond. We'd love to get some input. We would love to get some input from contractors, because we talked a lot about contractors today.
If there's anybody, and I will also throw this out there because we're trying to impart some wisdom. So if anybody finds any of this useful and wants to jump on a Zoom call, I'm happy to throw out a few hours in my month to kind of rap about your specific situation, how I would diagnose it. Can't come to your business unless it's local, but I will extend that additional. If anyone sees anybody they want to connect us with, if we can be of help, I'm happy to do that.
That's terrific, and I hopefully somebody will take that advice and move on it. So, well, thank you once again, everybody. Glad you could hear us. Glad you could check us out. Shout out number 101. We've eclipsed the centennial 100 episode. Not episode, but the 100 shout out. 101 shout outs to our executive producer. He's an executive producer now.
Congratulations.
Executive. You're getting a bigger chunk of the money.
Which is zero.
When we get some money, we'll let you know. But that's Dominic Galavito, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a great week.
Good job.